Hallo allemaal. Nou, we zitten in een andere opstelling, dus we moeten even wennen. Maar we zijn er.
Goedemiddag. Wil iemand eventjes weer bevestigen dat geluid en beeld en alles het doet? Oh, misschien hoeft dat wel niet, want misschien gaat onze technische man dat zojuist doen. Maar over de chat mag dat uiteraard ook eventjes. We hebben dus vandaag, zoals jullie weten, een proeverij samen met de wijnmaker van Cantina Tramin, met Wolfgang. Wolfgang schuift over ongeveer een kwartiertje aan in de proeverij. Maar om dat allemaal rond te krijgen, hebben we dus hulp aan de technische kant gekregen. Dus er komt straks een extra scherm bij jullie in beeld waarop we Wolfgang gaan zien. Wij doen straks oortjes in om met Wolfgang te kunnen praten. En als het goed is, horen jullie hem dan ook allemaal. En blijven jullie ons ook gewoon zien. Ik vind het allemaal heel spannend, maar ik heb alle vertrouwen dat het goed gaat komen. Dus welkom allemaal.
Ja.
Leuk dat jullie er weer zijn op deze mooie zondag.
Ja, en wij hebben dus 3 schermen voor onze neus. waar ik allemaal niet zo goed weet waar ik moet kijken. Dus dat wordt weer anders. Nou ja, fijn dat alles het doet. Wolfgang heet wel Wolfgang, maar is een echte Italiaan en loopt dus ook wat uit. We belden hem net en toen zei hij, oh ja, nee, maar ik loop uit. Nou ja.
Dus die schuift zo aan. En ondertussen gaan wij vast even de introductie doen. De chat doet het gewoon. Dat is ook gelukt. Dus je kunt gewoon vragen stellen over de chat. Ook als je vragen straks hebt aan Wolfgang, gooi ze gewoon eventjes in de chat. En dan zorgen wij dat de vraag bij Wolfgang komt. En dat we er hopelijk een antwoord op gaan krijgen.
Ja, voor mensen die zich daar misschien wel druk om maken, we doen de proeverij in het Engels.
Yes.
Mijn Italiaans is niet zo best. En,
Mijne nog minder.
Nou ja, dus dat gaan we niet doen. En Duits eigenlijk ook niet. Wolfgang gaat dat ongetwijfeld vertellen, hè, maar we proeven vandaag Cantina Tramin. En Tramin is een dorpje in Alto Adige en dat is een tweetalig gebied, of eigenlijk vooral Duitsstalig gebied van Italië. Dus het is kellerij Tramin in dit geval. Maar goed, gelukkig dus gewoon in het Engels. Want dat gaat beter.
Yes. En wij zullen er af en toe vast wel wat Nederlands tussendoor gooien. Maar ja, het is ook wel fijn als Wolfgang een beetje onze kant van het verhaal kan volgen. Dus vandaar dat we straks, zodra hij erbij is, overgaan in het Engels. En tot die tijd doen we het lekker gewoon op zijn Hollands.
Ja. Huishoudelijk. Zet je oven aan.
Yes.
De risotto straks moet warm. En de paddenstoelen Wellington mogen warm. En als je dan toch de oven aan hebt, dan zou ik dat...
Is dat wel zo lekker?
Vooral doen.
Hoeft allebei niet heel lang in de oven. Het gaat er niet om dat het nog gegaard moet worden. Maar het is puur wat lekkerder eten als de kou er vanaf is. Dus zet hem op 180 graden. En wij zullen op tijd een seintje proberen te geven wanneer het hapje in de oven moet. Dat lukt meestal. Dus we gaan er ook deze keer gewoon weer voor. Jullie hebben allemaal een proeflijst gekregen, denk ik. We proeven vandaag dus 5 wit, 3 rood. Dat is het assortiment waar Cantina Tramin eigenlijk onbekend staat. Een wijnhuis waar wij al, ik denk al vanaf het begin, hè? Ja, vanaf de opening van wij met Stijn mee samenwerken. Met Schrevenke lange tijd al een Sauvignon. We hebben bijvoorbeeld andere wijnen van hun op de grote kaart staan. En we hebben nou speciaal voor ons rode wijnen geïmporteerd. Die worden normaal niet Nederland geïmporteerd, naar Nederland geëxporteerd. Maar ja, om een proeverij te doen met alleen maar wit en 1 keer rood, dat was toch ook niet helemaal wat we wilden. Dus speciaal voor ons hebben ze de Pinot Nero en de Scavia opgestuurd, denk ik. Schiava. Ja. Dus die zijn speciaal hier naartoe gekomen voor deze proeverij. En Wolfgang sluit dus zo aan om daar het een en ander over te vertellen. Ik denk dat we niet op Wolfgang gaan wachten voordat we een glaasje wijn inschenken.
Dat zou ik niet doen.
Gaan we gewoon niet doen. Dus ik ga de wijn pakken. We beginnen met de Sauvignon Blanc. Dus die mag iedereen vast tevoorschijn halen. Doe hem lekker in je glas. Pak vast het hapje erbij, de San Daniele die we hebben. En dan gaan we in elk geval vast proeven en vast aanvangen met de wijn.
Ja. Nou ja, ik zal al wel iets vertellen over het gebied en over de Cantina. Dat gaat Wolfgang straks nog veel beter doen natuurlijk. Alto Adige is een dolomietengebied. Dus het is veel bergen, wijngaarden op hoogte, relatief koel klimaat. Het is ook een klimaat dat heel goed is, heel bekend is voor appels. Er zitten ook wijnboeren of druiventelers die ook appelsap maken. En dat schijnt ook echt wel een dingetje te zijn. Dat kun je super exclusief kopen. Appelsap uit Alto Adige. Het is ook verder wel heel culinair. Het is een gebied met lekker eten, lekker drinken. En eigenlijk het beste van 2 werelden. Het deel Tirol en het deel Italië. Nou, Sauvignon Blanc in het glas. 2019. Ik keek net op de proeflijst. We proeven gewoon de hele jaargang, het hele assortiment 2019 door. Dus we hebben geen gerijpte dingen hierin. Ik ben wel heel benieuwd. Ik heb een aantal dingen hiervan ook nog nooit geproefd.
Ik vind het dus wel gek dat onze camera nou zo ver weg staat. Want we zijn gewend aan onszelf pontificaal in beeld. En dat is nu niet zo. Is ook eigenlijk wel fijn. Maar we kijken dus wel naar een camera. En we zien een heel klein beeldje, schermpje van onszelf erboven. Dus het is wel weer een uitdaging. Het is weer anders dan we gewend waren. Houdt het spannend. Sauvignon Blanc. Nou ja, ik denk dat we daar weinig aan toe hoeven te voegen. Iedereen kent de Sauvignon. Een van de meest bekende druivenrassen. En die doet het ook in het relatief koele klimaat van de Alto Adige goed. Je hebt net al verteld, denk ik, dat het op hoogte ligt. Hè, dat het bergachtig is. En dat we ook daar ervoor zorgen dat er dus wat meer verkoeling komt. En het beeld wat ik altijd had voordat ik echt in wijn ging verdiepen, is dat Italië heel zuidelijk ligt. En dat het bijvoorbeeld het meest noordelijke deel van Italië veel zuidelijker ligt dan Zuid-Frankrijk. Nou, dat is dus niet zo. Dus dit ligt stiekem eigenlijk best wel een stukje naar boven toe, net onder Oostenrijk. Dus heeft nog best wel een gematigd klimaat. Ja. Niet dat hele hete wat we uit de hak van de laars kennen. Dat hebben we natuurlijk een paar weken geleden geproefd. Toen gingen we naar Zuid-Italië. En je zult merken dat dit wel echt hele andere stijlen wijnen zijn. We hebben een aantal internationale druivenrassen ertussen zitten. Hè? Dus de bekende dingen. Sauvignon Blanc werken ze veel mee in dit gebied. Maar ook de Pinot Gris of de Pinot Grigio is een druif die het hier heel goed doet. En tegelijkertijd hebben we vooral in het rood ook wat gekke dingen en wat echte lokale variëteiten. Dus dat maakt het denk ik wel heel leuk om te proeven.
Nou ja, en we hebben uit Tramin, dus in deze proeverij, Traminer.
Gewürztraminer.
Nou, ik weet niet hoe dat nou precies zit, want volgens mij is het een legende dat de Gewürztraminer uit Tramin komt. Maar dat gaan we straks aan Wolfgang vragen. Nou, laten we de Sauvignon proeven. Proost. Het is wel mooi met Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc uit een koel klimaat stinkt altijd een beetje. Het is uit Europa in het algemeen. Als je naar Zuid-Afrika gaat of naar Nieuw-Zeeland krijg je hele andere aroma's. Echt die Europese Sauvignons die stinken een beetje. En ze kunnen twee kanten op. Ze kunnen naar, als je chic zegt, buxus, kattenpis. Of ze kunnen een beetje naar zweet gaan ruiken. Een beetje kleedkamer. Sportschool, niet dat ik weet hoe een sportschool gaat. Dat
is heel lang
geleden. Maar goed. En dit heeft dat laatste een beetje.
De sportschool of de buxus?
Het sportschool.
Oh. Ja, ik hou het op buxus. Maar
ik vind het wel basic fit wijn.
Het is wel gewoon echt heel herkenbaar Sauvignon. Je hebt inderdaad de sportschool, buxus, hoe je het dan ook precies wil noemen. Een heel klein beetje dat stinken. Wat altijd heel negatief klinkt, wat het in Sauvignon eigenlijk helemaal niet negatief bedoeld is. En verder heb je erg lekker ook dat groenige, dat grassen erin. Mooi dat zuurtje, wat er wel zo kenmerkend is voor deze druif. En eigenlijk wel gewoon een heerlijk sappig fruitig glas. Ik word hier gewoon wel blij van. Dus ik ben blij dat we dit ook gewoon op de kaart hebben staan bij Wijnstein. Er staan er een hoop flessen voor koud. Dus als we weer mogen, dan komt dat helemaal goed daar. Dat is misschien ook wel voor degenen die regelmatig met ons proeven. Nou, we hebben natuurlijk allemaal wat goede nieuws gehoord. Woensdag gaat het terras weer open. Nou, voor Wijn bij Stijn maakt dat weinig verschil. Want we hebben natuurlijk geen terras daar. Maar bij het Viswijf zijn we druk bezig met de voorbereidingen om daar het terras weer op te bouwen. En daar gaat ook wel een kleine pop-up van Wijn bij Stijn die kant op. Dus als je nou een keer zin hebt komende week of de week erop in een lekker plankje charcuterie of chorizo kroketjes en een mooi glas wijn erbij, dan kun je ook gewoon bij het Viswijf terecht. Gooien we die meteen even erin. En we hebben er gewoon wel weer heel veel zin in. We moeten even gaan kijken hoe we het met de proeverijen gaan doen allemaal. Of we dat vol kunnen houden, of we dat kunnen blijven doen. Dus hou vooral de nieuwsbrief en de social media in de gaten. We zijn wel van plan om gewoon online proeverijen te blijven doen. Maar dat is een beetje afhankelijk, denk ik, van de weersvoorspellingen. En misschien dat we iets in tijd moeten gaan switchen. Dat we bijvoorbeeld een uurtje later gaan beginnen, zodat we het kunnen combineren met het terras. Maar goed, daar horen jullie allemaal nog meer over, zodra we daarover uit zijn.
Terug naar de wijn. Nou ja, ik zei dus al, een beetje basic fit. Het is wel echt Sauvignon. Het is strak, hoge zuren, lekker fris. Ja, Sandra noemt het op de chat een bekopener. Nou, dat is het ook wel. Het maakt je mond klaar voor wat er komen gaat.
Het is niet voor niks de eerste van de proeverij.
Nee, daar hebben wij wel over nagedacht.
We denken ook dat het proefformulier dit keer helemaal geklopt. De volgorde. Geen garanties. Dat weten we pas als we bij acht zijn.
Ja, en als
maar we
Wolfgang...
hebben er wel over nagedacht.
Misschien zegt Wolfgang wel van jongens, dit moet heel anders.
Dan laten we dat uiteraard weten en dan gaan we daar graag in mee. Wat we hierbij hebben, dat is wel leuk, kun je er al bij pakken, het hapje. We hebben lekker sandaniëlen. Wat we altijd zeggen, hè, wijnspijs moet je niet te ingewikkeld maken. Maar lokale dingen gaan vaak goed samen. Nou ja, we zitten in Noord-Italië, we hebben wijn uit Noord-Italië. Dus wat is daar lekker bij? Ja, dan kom je heel snel uit bij een mooie ham. En sandaniëlen is zo'n ham. Het lijkt een beetje op de... help me eens.
Parma.
De Parma. Maar het is over het algemeen net iets zoeter, iets subtieler en wat zachter van smaak. En daardoor combineert dat wel heel mooi, vinden wij, met de eerste 2 witte wijnen. Dus proef die vast even met je Sauvignon erbij. En hou nog een klein hapje over voor ook bij de Pinot Grigio. En wat ook leuk is, als je hem een beetje proeft met en zonder de uienkompot. Kijken of dat heel veel invloed heeft op de wijn.
Ik wil ook wel sandaniëlen.
Oh.
En Hanneke zit dit keer aan de kant van de koelkast, dus die moet dit even regelen.
Zitten we nou ook weer een spiegelbeeld of niet?
Nee, dat denk ik niet.
Okay.
Ik denk dat we goed zitten. Ondertussen vraagt Harmen, komt er geen terras aan de haven? Er komt een terras aan de haven, maar niet van ons, Harmen. Wij hebben even de mensen niet om daar te gaan lopen. Dus wij focussen even op allebei de zaken.
Ja, gewoon lekker vol gas op het Viswijf en op Wijn bij Stijn. Ik heb even ruzie met het bakje. En de terras aan de haven komt er wel weer. Onze buren, Hello My Friend, gaan het doen samen met Royal, de bakkerij. En dit keer doet ook Bob mee. Bob Siemeling van Dazzling Cocktails. Die heeft daar vorig jaar al wel een aantal keren gestaan. Die heeft heel wat uren voor ons opgevangen. En die gaat nou ook mee in de coöperatie. Dus ze zijn er wel al druk mee bezig. Dus je kunt wel gewoon weer aan de haven lekker een drankje nuttigen. Dus dat komt helemaal goed.
Ja.
Zal ik ook een vorkje pakken?
Ja, die uienkompot om dat nou met de vingers te doen.
Gaat ook helemaal verkeerd. Als we andersom gaan zitten, dan zijn we niet meer gewend.
Ik vond het wel lekker voor een keertje.
Ja, kan ik me voorstellen.
Bram die vraagt, wat is de oorzaak van die sportschoolgeur? Zijn dat stoffen in de grond? Nee. Uit de grond komt eigenlijk niet zo heel veel echt 1 op 1 in de druif terecht. Er worden geen stoffen getransporteerd, zeg maar, van de grond via de wortel door de stengel naar de druiven.
Nee.
Wat de oorzaak is, zijn echt aroma's van de druif zelf. Sauvignon Blanc is een heel aromatische druif. Er zitten veel aromastoffen in het druivensap. En die ontstaan vaak ook nog door gisting. Maar in dit geval, die sportschoolgeur is echt een primaire aroma. En dat komt uit de druif. En dat heeft dan te maken, waarom is het bijvoorbeeld sportschool en geen buxus of geen passievrucht zoals in Nieuw-Zeeland? Dat heeft te maken met groeiseizoen, grondsoort. En de grondsoort heeft dan invloed op wanneer de druif warmte krijgt en wanneer niet. Hoeveel water die heeft. Maar dit komt echt uit de druif. Ja.
Daar merk je ook dat dit een aroma is wat terugkomt in bijna alle Sauvignon Blanc uit een koel klimaat. Ja, als het klimaat grotendeels hetzelfde is, dan krijg je redelijk dezelfde type wijnen. Ook al zou de bodemsoort heel erg verschillen. Dus de bodem heeft zeker wel invloed, maar niet zozeer op het smaakgehalte. Het heeft meer invloed op de rijpheid van de druiven en hoe de druif groeit, hoe die rijpt, hoe lang je erover doet, et cetera. Maar de bodem draagt geen daadwerkelijke geur of smaakstoffen over aan de druif. Zeggen we af en toe wel, hè, dat je het geniet van de bodem in de wijn kunt ruiken, maar dat is meer wat er in ons hoofd gebeurt dan dat het daadwerkelijk in de wijn terechtkomt.
En het is dus wel zo dat die bodemsoorten heel consequent zijn in wat ze doen. Hè? Dus een Riesling van lijsteen heeft wel altijd hetzelfde aroma. Maar dat komt dan omdat die lijsteen net een paar dagen eerder opwarmt door de zon dan wanneer die op kalksteen staat bijvoorbeeld. En daar ken ik niet alle details van. Dat vind ik ook heel ingewikkeld.
Dat is hogere wiskunde en scheikunde.
We krijgen de vraag of er hier vorst is geweest. Ik ben er wel bang voor, maar dat gaan we zo vragen aan Wolfgang. En ik denk, we hebben hem nu ruim 20 minuten gegeven. Ik denk dat we maar weer eens gaan bellen. Kijken of hij zover is.
Helemaal goed. Ik heb er niks over gehoord, moet ik eerlijk zeggen, de vorst. Dus misschien is het allemaal wel meegevallen in Italië.
Oké. Nee, we hebben de voicemail nog bij Wolfgang. Dus dat gaat nog niet zo goed.
Dus we wachten even tot Wolfgang online komt.
Ik zal hem even een berichtje sturen dat hij aangeeft wanneer hij er is.
Dat hij op moet schieten.
Ja, dat hij op moet schieten.
Ondertussen gaan wij dan gewoon rustig door. Weet je, als je vragen hebt over deze wijnen, hou ze vooral vast of gooi ze vast in de chat. Dan geven wij er zo goed mogelijk antwoord op. En anders vragen we Wolfgang zo om wat meer te vertellen. We gaan door met Pinot Grigio. Dus Pinot Gris, maar dan op zijn Italiaans. Dus als iedereen die fles erbij pakt, zit hem precies dezelfde mooie fles als die Sauvignon Blanc. Dus die mag ingeschonken worden. En dan kunnen we die ook nog even proeven bij de San Daniele. Moet ik hem weer pakken zeker? Hè?
Ja, zeker. Dat is de consequentie van rechts willen zitten. En heb jij onze Daan meegenomen in het inschenkrondje?
Zeker. De technische man heeft ook gewoon wijn gekregen. Uiteraard.
Zeer content.
Niet te veel, hè? Wij moeten wel zorgen dat de verbinding allemaal blijft lopen en zo. Nou, terwijl we rustig afwachten waar Wolfgang blijft. Dit is wel een ding in onze proeverijen. Ik had het er net nog over dat we in de eerste lockdown, denk ik, met de kaasproeverij iemand van onder de douche hebben gebeld.
Dat was ook een Italiaans.
Dat was ook een Italiaanse, dus misschien zit het een beetje in een nationaliteit. Maar we wachten rustig tot Wolfgang er is om bij ons aan te sluiten. En ondertussen hebben wij gewoon happen en wijn en ook nog wel een leuk verhaal. Dus dat komt helemaal goed. Dus we gaan over naar de Pinot Grigio. Dus ik zou zeggen, schenk hem in voor je het nog niet gedaan hebt. Als je de oven nog niet aangezet hebt, dan is nu wel ongeveer het moment om dat te gaan doen. Want dan is hij goed voorverwarmd. Ja, ik ga al.
Dit is echt heel bijzonder. Maar goed, Alto Adige, hè, dat heet zo het gebied. Het is genoemd naar de rivier de Adige. Of de Eisak in het Duits. Denk ik, en die stroomt ongeveer, laten we zeggen, vanaf de Dolomieten naar het zuiden, van Bolzano naar Trento. En gaat net onder Trento ineens linksaf richting Venetië. Dan stroomt hij bijna parallel aan de Po. En in dat dal, in het dal van de Adige, liggen dus alle wijngaarden. En Alto Adige is echt een gebied van coöperaties. Dus Tramin is dat ook. In het dorp verder daar heb je Caldaro of Kaltern. En daar heb je ook een goede coöperatie. En in het volgende dorp dus ook. Dus het zijn een aantal druivenboeren die allemaal druiven produceren. En die worden door één wijnmaker gemaakt.
Dat is eigenlijk net een beetje Elzas, hè? Daar hebben ze alles in Frans en in de Duitse variant alle namen. En hier doen ze dat in het Italiaans en het Duits. Ja. We hebben dus Pinot Grigio in het glas. Dus we gaan van dat hele frisse van de Sauvignon gaan we een beetje af. We gaan naar ietsje voller, iets ronder, iets zachter. Dus ik zou zeggen, proef hem even. Ik heb het net stiekem al even gedaan. Proef hem vooral ook even dit keer met de San Daniele met de uienkompot. Ik vond dat net met de Sauvignon Blanc ging heel mooi samen met de ham. Die frisse zuren die vangen dat wat vettere van die ham heel mooi op. Alleen als je dan die uienkompot erbij doet, dan krijg je in één keer een zoetje wat die Sauvignon eigenlijk niet herkent. Waar die niet zo goed bij aansluit. En wat dus bij een spijs ook net iets minder is dan wanneer je de ham helemaal puur eet. En ik denk dat het bij deze Pinot Grigio wel eens heel anders kan zijn. Dus laten we vooral even proeven.
Ja. Ondertussen vraagt Ellen zich af wie de technische man is. Dat is
Schijm.
Het is geheim dat het Daan is van de Palm. Eigenaar van Café de Palm.
Hele andere wijnen. Heb je er niet geproefd? Schiet eens op, man. Nou, echt, weet je proeft meteen het verschil met die Sauvignon Blanc. Dat hele frisse, dat strakke. De Pinot Grigio heeft wat meer rijkdom. Heeft wat meer zoetigheid. Iets weer een tikje restzoet. Wat voller, gaat wat meer naar dat witte fruit toe. En drinkt eigenlijk net iets makkelijker weg, vind ik. Maar in combinatie dus met dat hammetje en met die uienkompot erbij... gaat dat wel heel mooi samen, omdat hij dat zoetje een beetje heeft voorbij die uienkompot.
Ja, dat pakt hij wel. Dit is echt die Pinot Grigio, het is nog steeds aan de frisse kant van het spectrum. Maar het zit veel lager in de zuren. Het heeft veel meer sap, veel meer fruit. Het is een klein beetje stroef, dus het is eigenlijk wel het is wel mineraal. Je kunt het ook wel heel fijn drinken. Ik word altijd heel bang als je ergens op het terras zit en je krijgt de keuze of je Pinot Grigio of Chardonnay wil drinken. Maar dit is wel een hele fijne Pinot Grigio.
Ja, er is natuurlijk een heleboel Pinot Grigio op de markt waar je ook niet over naar huis wil schrijven. Maar ja, dat geldt wel voor heel veel andere druivensoorten ook natuurlijk. Er
wordt in Noord-Italië heel veel Pinot Grigio gemaakt. Een stukje naar het zuiden en dan zit je in Veneto. En eigenlijk zit je dan op de rand van de Po-vlakte. En daar is het heel warm. En daar is de grond heel rijk. En dat is niet zo heel goed voor druiven. En daar komt echt heel veel bulk vandaan. En dit komt natuurlijk allemaal van hellingen. Moet met de hand geplukt worden. Want de machines die kukelen zo het dal in. Het heeft meer aandacht. Het heeft ook minder rendement. Hè, dus minder flessen per hectare. Ik vind dit wel heel fijn.
Echt op kwaliteit gemaakt in plaats van kwantiteit. Ja. Dat proef je ook wel, denk ik. Ja. Staat Cantina Tramin natuurlijk ook wel bekend om. Dit zijn niet de massaproducenten die miljoenen flessen maken. Er wordt genoeg gemaakt. We hebben echt geen tekort. Maar het is niet zo massaal als je dat in sommige andere bedrijven ziet. En ook zeker niet te vergelijken met wat er in Zuid-Italië gebeurt. In de proeverij die we laatst hadden. Waar je echt die hele grote coöperaties hebt. Dat als je zegt, joh, ik wil er langs gaan. Daar is alle romantiek wel van weg. Ja, dat heb je hier niet. Het zijn allemaal relatief wel kleinere bedrijven. Ook omdat je geen massale wijngaarden hebt. Het is wat onherbergzamer, je legt op de hellingen, je moet met de hand plukken. Dus je hebt niet hectares vol met wijngaarden waar je gewoon met de machine overheen kan gaan. Dus het is echt meer ambacht nog. En dat proef je wel terug in de kwaliteit.
Ja, en in het algemeen worden hier in alle coöperaties goede wijn gemaakt. Ik volg Lars Daniels, dat is een magister vini die veel schrijft voor perswijn. En die zegt dat Tramin wel de beste coöperatie van Italië is. Nou, ik heb ze niet allemaal geproefd, maar als Lars dat zegt, dan
wij zijn wel fan van Tramin in elk geval, dus daar kunnen we ons wel bij aansluiten.
Ja. En ik ben dus benieuwd wat jullie vinden. Ik zie op de chat nog niet zo heel veel reacties.
Ja, dat begint te komen. Dus,
over de Pinot Grigio.
Ja.
Ik vind de kompot wel lekker.
Ik ben ook wel benieuwd waar Wolfgang blijft.
Ja. Ik zal hem eens even een appje sturen. Want ik weet dus niet of hij de chat op Skype leest.
Of hij dat aan heeft staan. Kijken of hij zover is. Of dat hij nog even onder de douche door moest. Ondertussen gaan wij gewoon rustig verder. En dan bewaren we gewoon alle vragen voor Wolfgang. Voor als hij wel verschijnt. We hebben, ik denk dat helemaal goed op het proefformulier staat. Maar we gaan nu met 1 wijn doen bij het volgende hapje. We hebben geen flights van steeds 2 wijnen gemaakt. Omdat er wel erg veel verschil in de wijnen dan zit om samen te proeven. Dus de 3 rode wijnen proeven we samen. We proeven de Gewürztraminer en de Stoan straks samen. En we gaan nu rustig door naar de Pinot Bianco. Hebben we denk ik deze keer zijn we vergeten te melden in de huishoudelijke mededelingen. Maar het is altijd handig voor mensen die voor het eerst meeproeven. Als je het tempo te hoog vindt liggen van de proeverij, schenk dan niet je hele flesje meteen uit over 2 glazen. Schenk een slok in, bewaar een beetje, proef met ons mee. Op het moment dat wij dan doorgaan, dan heb jij je glas ook leeg. En dan kun je gewoon lekker verder meeproeven. En dan kun je daarna gewoon altijd nog de rest van de wijn opdrinken, terugproeven als je wil. En misschien zo als Wolfgang erbij is en die meldt nog bepaalde dingen over de wijn, kun je ook nog eens even terugproeven of je dat nou inderdaad eruit kan halen. Voor iedereen die het eerste 2 glazen al gewoon leeg heeft, maakt ook niet uit uiteraard. Geen enkel probleem, goed bezig. Jullie mogen met ons mee op reis. Maar als je op een gegeven moment tempo aan de hoge kant kunt liggen, dan meld je eventjes. Of meld je even, bewaar een beetje wijn in het flesje. We proberen toch wel een beetje de gang erin te houden. En dan hebben we straks wat meer tijd om met Wolfgang te praten over zijn wijnen. Dus dan bewaar je gewoon een beetje en dan proef je het later even terug. Ik ga de Pinot Bianco erbij pakken. Dus de Pinot Blanc. De Weissburgunder, zoals we het op zijn Duits mooi zeggen. Dus dat mag iedereen ook doen. De hapjes die warm worden zijn pas voor de laatste 2 rondjes. Dus daar hoeft nou nog niks aan te gebeuren. Je mag wel vast de zeewolf erbij pakken. De worst van de zeewolf.
Nou, Pinot Bianco Moris. En Moris is San Maurizio. Of de heilige Maurits is dat dan, denk ik, hè? De heilige Mauritius. En dat is de beschermheilige van een klein dorpje boven het dorp Tramin. En dat dorpje heet Sella. Ik ben aan het spieken, hè, dat merk je, want ik had natuurlijk volledig op Wolfgang gerekend. De hoge wijngaard tussen de 250 en 550 meter. En dat is best hoog, 550 meter. Het gaat in Alto Adige nog wel wat hoger. Maar in het algemeen wordt er boven de 800 meter geen wijn meer gemaakt. Ja, en ik heb iemand in Colombia ooit gesproken die op 3500 meter wijn aan het maken was. Dat was een Nederlander, maar ja, die werd ingevlogen om die wijn te maken. Maar toen bleken de geldstromen toch iets anders te lopen dan dat hij dacht. Martin vraagt, had het eruit moeten zien als worst? Het is een worst geweest. En toen gingen wij het snijden, denk ik. Er komt ineens een hele hoop chat. De microfoon ziet er professioneel uit. Ja, het is echt zo. Geld hebben we niet, maar spullen.
Hebben we ook niemand die is van de
Ook niet
technische man.
vandaan, inderdaad. Ja, dat moet ik ook zo doen. Nee, het Pinot Grigio is goedgekeurd. Het zoetje vult, nou ja, dat vond ik eigenlijk ook. Sauvignon heeft de voorkeur. En dat snap ik ook wel. Pinot Grigio is inderdaad wel echt een...
Allemansvriend. Ja, nee, dat klopt ook wel.
En hoort de worst van zeewolf zo uit te lopen? Ja, ik denk het wel. Bij ons schiet hij er ook wel zo uit.
Hij verliest een beetje vocht, dat klopt wel. Dat heeft hij van ons ook. We gaan door naar de Pinot Bianco. Nou, je hebt al verteld over Moritje, waarom dat zo heet.
Ja.
En dit worden ook wel wat de serieuzere wijnen van de Cantina Tramin. Niet dat die andere twee niet goed waren, maar dat zijn wel hun instappers, zeg maar. En dit gaat wel een niveautje hoger. Het is ook wel meteen wat robuuster, hè?
Ja.
We blijven dus nog even in de Pinot-familie. Daar gaan we zo nog een keertje naartoe. We hebben de Pinot Grigio al geproefd. Naar de Pinot Bianco. We gaan straks ook nog Pinot Nero proeven. Want Pinots zijn wel druiven die heel dankbaar gebruik maken van het wat koelere klimaat in de Alto Adige. We zien die druiven natuurlijk ook veel in het noorden, in Duitsland, in het noorden van Frankrijk. Het zijn druiven die over het algemeen niet zo gesteld zijn op hele hete klimaten. Vooral de Pinot Nero, de Spätburgunder of de Pinot Noir staat er ook wel bekend om. Een druif met een heel dun schilletje, wat in warme zon heel snel verbrandt. Dus die staat vooral in wat koelere gedeelten. En als het al een wat warmer klimaat is, dan zetten ze hem vaak niet op het zuiden, maar net aan de andere kant van de helling, zodat hij wat beter beschut is tegen de zon. En dat geldt eigenlijk ook wel voor de witte rassen. Pinot Blanc kan wel wat meer warmte hebben, maar is een druif die over het algemeen vrij veel suikers vergaart. Dus als je die in een heel warm klimaat zet, dan hou je weinig zuren over. Krijg je veel suikers, krijg je soms zelfs wel wat restsuiker in de wijn. En dus een hoog alcoholpercentage. Ja, dat is eigenlijk juist wat je liever niet wil met wijn natuurlijk. Dus die doet het gewoon een stuk beter als je een iets koeler klimaat hebt, waar die gewoon goed kan rijpen, zonder dat hij meteen overrijp wordt en doorschiet.
Ik hoor geluid. Hello Wolfgang. Hi, good to have you here. Oké. Nou, we hebben dus Wolfgang online. En die wordt nu ingeplukt in de feed, hoor ik. Kijk, we're trying to plug you into the YouTube feed. And I'm looking at our technical guy to see if we can manage this.
That.
But glad you can join us. Thank you.
Yeah.
We started tasting already. Yeah,
We get a thumbs up. So I think you're now in our feed. Everybody can see you, and hopefully everybody can hear you as well. Everybody can hear you. Do we have to check up from that, Dan, or is it already working? Dan is going to do the checkup, see if everybody can hear you. We hear you, so that's already fine.
So we're good, we're in?
I think so. Yep. We're just waiting for the confirmation from the technical guy. Can you say something? Then he knows if you're in.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're good now.
Works good.
No.
Good.
Okay.
Welcome to everybody here in this online tasting. Happy to be here with you, with Cantina Tramin from Alto Adige. You already started to taste some wines. I guess you started with maybe the Moritz, Pinot Bianco, or...
No, we're actually now on the Moritz, and people tasted the Sauvignon Blanc and the Pinot Grigio as well. So we already started a bit, and we hope that you could tell us something more about those wines. We started with the Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, so Sauvignon Blanc. So maybe if you would give me a few minutes to explain a little bit about the area and where we are. So we're very northern Italy, bordering Austria. So basically in the Italian Alps. So Italian Alps means a mixture of sun and cool climate. So 300 sunny days a year, but still cool nights and a cool alpine climate. And this combination, where we come to Sauvignon to have a ripe Sauvignon, where we try to get also exotic grapefruit, but that's still combined with the green typical flavors of the Sauvignon. And this is why Alto Adige really can be or is a very good area for Sauvignon.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, we talked about that a bit. You're in the Italian Alps, so your vineyards are high up.
Yeah, the vineyards are between beginning 200 meters up to 850 meters of altitude. And Sauvignon predominantly is between 400 and 600 meters.
Okay.
Most part of it, so already on a more cooler side of the vineyards. And for the location, it's Verona. Verona, the city of Verona, is basically the border to the Alps and the flat area. So from Verona, going like an hour and a half towards north.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're in between Trento and Bolzano, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We are right about half an hour north from Trento.
Okay. And it's in the valley of the Adige, the river, which is which makes a big valley. What we explained a little bit as well is that Tramin or Cantina Tramin is a cooperation.
Exactly.
Okay, can you explain how that works for you?
Yeah. So Cantina Tramin was founded like more than 100 years in 1898.
Okay.
And it was founded based off necessity because grape pricings were very bad. And so was the idea to start with a cooperative, hoping in a better outcome. And there's maybe one point we need to mention is that the whole Alto Adige area has 5,000 hectares of vineyards, but only 5,000 growers. So only 5,000 hectares and 5,000 growers.
Yeah.
So this shows that there are a lot of little growers and not so much big ones. And so there were a lot of people selling the grapes, and being a lot of selling the grapes, the grape pricings were down, were way bad. And so this was the idea to start with the cooperatives. And so now Cantina Tramin, after 100 years of a typical cooperative time, meaning bulk wine and simple wines, like 30 years ago, it started to focus on quality and to put everything possible to gain on quality. And so this was the result. The result was very, very good. and today we work about 270 hectares, and the company is owned by about 160 families.
Okay. 160
So they own-
families. Yeah.
Yeah, they own the company, they own their land.
Yeah.
And the advantage is that there are all these small families working the vineyards, knowing what they do this for generations. And everyone has just to focus on like a 1 maximum 2 hectares. So it's all very family driven.
Yeah.
But then controlled and checked by the cooperative.
Okay. So the cooperative helps how to grow grapes. Explains what they need, what they want.
Yeah, we help, and more than helping, we set the goals.
Yep.
And based on the goals, who follows better the goals by the end of the year earns also more money.
Okay. And those goals are in sugar amounts or acidity, things like that?
Yeah, it's a mix, and it's also, I mean, if we go about the grape pricing, it starts where the vineyard is located, and then how they work during the year. We control the single processes during the year, how good they're done, all the shipments. So harvest time, it's the winery or the winemaker deciding the day of harvest.
Okay.
When the grapes come in, every shipment gets checked if the grapes are healthy and how good the grapes look like. And based on all these figures, pricings get up or down.
Okay. And so you buy the grapes and then you are going to make wine of it, right?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Officially not, because the winery is owned by the growers.
Yeah.
It's like a stock company.
Okay.
But the earnings are not divided based on hectares or on quantity of grapes, but it's divided. The earnings are divided based on hectares and quality of grapes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, the company decides how to divide the earnings, and that's based on the quality. So who works better by the end earns more.
Yeah, so people get really motivated to produce quality. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So you told us that the grapes for the Sauvignon grapes are mainly planted between 400 and 600 meters. How is that with the Pinot Grigio? We already tasted that, so people would like to hear something about that.
Yeah, Pinot Grigio obviously is a very famous grape variety. It's probably the most famous from Italy at all.
Yeah.
But Alto Adige has a very important role in this history of Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio was brought to the Südtirol Alto Adige area about 150 years ago, connected back in the times with Austria. And it was the research center in San Michele, what's Trentino, Alto Adige, where they tried back in the times other varieties, and basically it was predominantly Burgundy varieties and all the today's known international Cabernet, all these grape varieties were tried back in the times, and Pinot Grigio was one of the grape varieties that performed very well and stood in the area. And so Alto Adige had a very, very important role for the success of Pinot Grigio. Then now Pinot Grigio is a big word. There are a lot of different styles. What we can say, the difference of our Pinot Grigio is that first of all, it's all grown on the hills. So we don't have any vineyards in the valley floor. So it's all on the slopes where you have much more mineral-driven soils. And being a DOC Alto Adige appellation, by appellation the yield is to be lower. So it's a Pinot Grigio with more body structure than some IGT Pinot Grigios.
Yeah.
And it's a Pinot Grigio that stays also longer on the palate. It's very mineral driven.
Yeah, we already told the people that normally when we go to a restaurant or a terrace and you can choose for white wines between Chardonnay and Pinot Grigio, that we're always a bit scared, huh? Like what's it gonna be? And this is really, really a quality Pinot Grigio. It's not the easy drinking house wine of most bars and cafes here in the Netherlands, but you can really taste a little bit more minerality, a little bit more body, and that makes it really pleasant if you ask me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and that's not just because we are doing the job better than that. Others do. That's just because yields are lower and they are grown on the slopes. So that's the main difference on.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not mass production, but you focus on the quality of the wine.
Exactly, and all the grapes belong from our vineyards. That's also a big important fact. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
For our guests that are all still listening, if you have any questions for Wolfgang, just please put them in the chat. We can read them and we'll pass them through. So you can ask the questions that you want to. For now, we have the Pinot Bianco in the glass. I hope everybody has still left a little bit because we already have it for a few minutes. What can you tell about the Pinot Bianco, Wolfgang? And then we hope that we have told the same thing, of course.
Pinot Bianco.
The Pinot Bianco Mori. Yeah.
Is obviously related to Pinot Grigio, but by far not as famous as Pinot Grigio. The Pinot Bianco as a variety brings out a more elegant style of wine, a cleaner style of wine. Who likes to drink wines that are very fresh and clean? Pinot Bianco is a very good option. And as far as it goes for Moritz, we select only the higher elevated Pinot Bianco vineyards.
Yeah.
So we are on 450 meters approximately and higher. And with the altitude, we can work on a longer maturation. So we can keep the grapes longer on the grapes. And so also the Pinot Bianco, because Pinot Bianco risks to stay a little bit anonymous. And with the altitude and the ripe style of Pinot Bianco, also the Pinot Bianco gets a very good character. And maintains the acidity and the freshness. And so it's a beautiful wine. It's a very elegant wine. As vinification, it's done about 25% approximately in large wood. The large wood gives a little bit makes it a little bit rounder, a little bit not so harsh as Pinot Bianco can be sometimes. And it's a beautiful wine. A beautiful wine. Anytime we look for something very delicate and elegant.
It's nice. I really like it. We got a question on the chat. Do you use barrique for your whites? But as you already said, right? For the Pinot Bianco, you use the larger woods to give it a little bit of softness, but not to have too much influence of the oak, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's not for the influence. It's much more for the evolution for the wine to get it a little bit smoother and rounder, keeping it for a few months on the fine lees. What we had before the Pinot Grigio, it's all done in stainless steel. We do some Chardonnay in barrique, but most of the white wines are done in large cask or stainless steel.
Yeah. Okay, so that answers one question. We have a couple of others. One quick one, I think. A guest of ours wants to know what your mother tongue is, if it's German or Italian.
So to keep it short, it's German, or it's a German dialect. If you like, we can explain that why. Let's make it.
No, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Alto Adige, or the original name Südtirol, but was the land of Tyrol for hundreds of years, and then it became part of Habsburgian, Austrian, and the area is predominantly German-speaking. Yes, it came to Italy only since World War I.
Okay.
So it was a political decision after the war to swift the border, and so South Tyrol was cut off of the rest of Tyrol. But till then, we were really like Tyrol and German speaking, and then it became part of Italy, and yeah, people try to maintain their culture and their language. Maybe being mountain people, we are usually a little bit more, I don't know, keeping the eyes closer than maybe in some other areas. And sometimes that also it's not only negative, but also positive, and stood belong to our roots and to our culture. And so German still is the most spoken language. Although it's not a real German, it's a German dialect, the German
Okay.
of the German-speaking Alps, I would say.
Okay. Thank you.
You do speak Italian as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the second language, so we teach it in the school. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Next question, if we can. You said already a little bit about that, but the question is, how does the Cantina decide on quality? Is it based on flavor, on taste, on terroir, on... Yeah, he asks vinification, but it's not because you buy grapes, you don't buy wine. But do you do it chemically? Do you measure?
I mean, it's a mixture out of all these topics. So for the most important wines, generally we start with the terroir. So a very important thing is that we know already now which vineyard belongs or should belong to our top wines. So it's not that we just source better grapes or better wine. No, we start in the vineyard and we set a goal for every single vineyard. It's a good vineyard, okay, it's a good vineyard, so the goal is to produce that, and so we have a certain protocol. If it's a great, outstanding vineyard, so it belongs to our most important wines, so the protocol is another one.
Okay.
And this is how it's done. And then it's also some analytics, but it's more visual, personally. So we control during the year, and we write down the points, how the work is done, how the single steps during the year in the vineyards are done. Getting up to the grapes. The grapes, when they come to the winery, they get all controlled, if they are healthy, if the harvest is done in a proper way, if they cleaned out some bad parts of the grapes. And then at the final end, also analytical researches are added, but those probably in fact the less than everything else.
Okay. Thank you. We have a couple of other questions, but I propose we return to tasting before asking the questions. Maybe people get thirsty. We had the Pinot Bianco in the glass.
Yeah.
And I really like this. I'm thinking we should work with this. It's dry, it's mineral, it has a lot of fruits. It goes well with the food we serve with it. Where I don't know how to... It's a cold monkfish dish that we have with it, with a lot of dill. And that works really well.
It works really nice. Yeah. Definitely. So I think we continue with the Gewürztraminer. So everybody can get his Gewürztraminer and pour that in the glass. And then afterwards we go to the Stoan. And then we are already done with the white wines. And you do get compliments for your website. At least I think it's about your website, because ours is not so sophisticated.
It's not about it.
So I think you get the compliments for your website. And we have a question in the chat. The risotto. We have small dishes to go with the wines, and I think it's now about time to put the risotto in the oven. We have risotto with taleggio to go with the Gewürztraminer and the Stoan. So we're really curious to find out how that works. I'm gonna get the Gewürztraminer. You can put all the risotto in the oven, and I will do that too. And then we go on tasting.
Yeah, cool.
And by the way, on the website, there is a part in territory or area should be named, and there you can click on a map, and so you can see very good how our area looks like, and you get an idea of the mountains and where the vineyards are.
I'm trying to find it now. I think it is called Our Region in English, if you go to the English version. Yeah, and there's a map,
Yeah,
you can see the vineyards. And
makes sense.
That's really nice. Yeah.
And you can zoom in and zoom out, and yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. So if people want, feel free. I might do it later. The lake you see on it is the Lago di Caldaro, no?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Lago di Caldaro, Caldaro
Oh, je hoort het niet. Caldaro. We always have discussion how you pronounce Italian names, and unfortunately I was wrong this time.
Ah, yes. Good news.
But so the Lago di Caldaro, it's a beautiful lake, but as you can see, quite small. Yeah. But we do have another lake, what's obviously not as close, and you will think that the Lago di Caldaro has a big influence or impact to our climate, but it's not so much. It's much more the influence of the Lago di Garda, what you probably know.
Yep. Het Gardameer.
And Garda Lake, it's an hour and a half south of us. But we do have every afternoon the wind of the Lake Garda. It's called the Ora. And it's breezing from the Lago di Garda going up the Adige River.
Okay.
Or the Adige Valley. And on the hills where the vineyards are, especially for Gewürztraminer, the Ora, the wind of the Lago di Garda, brings a beautiful and very important ventilation.
Okay.
So to keep the grapes dry and healthy for autumn, before harvest time, to bring the warmer climate in spring, and in summer to blow out a little bit the heat.
Okay.
And that wind is coming every afternoon, as long the weather is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, in a rainy day, no wind is blowing.
No.
Yeah. Maybe thunderstorm, but not the wind of the Lago di Garda.
Yeah, I think most of people know about the Lago di Garda. It's really a famous holiday spot for us Dutch people. We always like to go to the Garda Lake.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful area, and so different also from one side to the other, from the north to the south. There's a lot to experience, absolutely.
Yeah, I think every summer a lot of caravans and campers are going there from out of the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a big spot for caravan lovers.
That's what we do, at least some of us.
Yeah, exactly.
In the meantime, there's Gewürztraminer in the glass. How does Gewürztraminer relate to the village of Tramin? Is it originally from there, or is that a myth?
I mean, as you can, the name is linked to the village of Tramin. The grape variety, what we know genetically proven, it's that it's a very old grape variety, and some very famous grape varieties like the Burgundy varieties or Cabernet Sauvignon, even Riesling, genetically belong to Gewürztraminer. So this shows how old the Gewürztraminer variety is.
Okay.
Being so old, on the other side, it's very difficult to prove where it comes from. If it comes from Tramin, we don't know.
Okay.
But it's also true that all the other theories, there's no other proof for nothing. They're all theories. So there are some scientifics saying something, but it's all theories. Nobody has a proof to any theory. It's probably, the grape variety probably is not native to Tramin. That's very probably, but it might came also from the Middle East area, as the Mediterranean Sea, Venice and Alto Adige was a classical route. It might came from there to our area, and it evolved very well in Tramin, and that's why it took the name from Tramin. Mm-hmm. That's a good theory, but again, there are no proofs on everything. For us, first of all, it's important that the area really has or shows the quality for Gewürztraminer. It's one of the main areas for quality Gewürztraminer, and that's the most important thing. And it's not so important where it came from. Obviously, the name is related to the village of Tramin.
Yeah.
Gewürztraminer basically is saying the spicy wine from Tramin.
Yeah.
And somehow there was a connection in the history.
Exactly.
If it was the first or the oldest, we don't know. And what Tramin did in the more recent history, or Alto Adige, is to create a style for Gewürztraminer, or a different style. Maybe let's call it the Alto Adige, or the Italian style of Gewürztraminer, and that's the dry style of Gewürztraminer. As in our area, it ripes out very well, so in the way that we don't keep this bitterness what Gewürztraminer very often has.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to the mountains, there's still a good amount of acidity. And what's very important for Gewürztraminer, because Gewürztraminer just genetically has a very low acidity, so the climate is very important to be perfect, to maintain that little acidity, and only with that the wine has this beautiful balance and can give a unique sensation. It's like a symphony of flavors. So it's one glass of wine with a lot of satisfaction, yeah.
It is. We already get a comment in the chat that people really love it and that it's not sweet. As you have a lot of Gewürztraminers that have a little bit of residential sugar and they get really sweet. And this is really nice dry in the aftertaste. You have the unique flavors of the Gewürztraminer. Yeah, you can taste them, you can smell them. They're really in there. But the aftertaste is nice and dry and I really liked it.
Yeah, that's how we did it, and that's how Italians, for example, came across basically the first time with Gewürztraminer, and Italians love Gewürztraminer.
Mm-hmm.
Gewürztraminer in Italy is very famous, very popular. You can find it on every wine bar's list and every restaurant list from the north to the south.
Okay.
And people just love it, and they don't have this bad experience, or they didn't have the bad experience with the sweet style of Gewürztraminer, and so they enjoy it just to have it as a glass in the evening, or with a lot of food, with shellfish or smoked dishes or everything what's fat, and so pairs actually very well.
Yep. So risotto with taleggio should go very well with it, huh?
Exactly. That should be a beautiful pairing with it. Yeah.
It is your job to get it out of the oven.
Yeah. So I think everybody can get his risotto out of the oven now, and then we can taste it with the Gewürztraminer and see how the combination will go. I really love this glass. I really like it. It really has this rose smell, the lychee in it that's so typical for this grape. And yeah, exactly what you say. The sweetness isn't there, so it's really nice and dry, and yeah. It's really enjoyable.
It is.
I think we have to add a lot of wines to our wine list.
Yeah, true.
I'll get the risotto.
Cool. We have a question in the meantime. Harman is asking if it is a challenge to grow so many different grape varieties.
It's obviously it's a challenge, but yeah, for a cooperative, there's one advantage to have this all these small families working just as small plot, being very sensible on what to do in the vineyard. But on the other hand, we accumulate a certain amount of vineyards, so we can have a professional team in the winery. We have a historical winemaker in the winery. He was awarded as Italy's best winemaker years ago by Gambero Rosso. And obviously, more grape varieties, it's not the easier work. But it's also true that it's the tradition of the area. And why is the tradition of the area, or in difference to other areas, is that Alto Adige has vineyards between 230 meters or 200 meters of elevation to getting up to 1,000 meters. And then we have areas with more volcanic soils. We have areas with more dolomite, calcareous soil. We have some glaciers areas, and it's a big mix where we need to have different grape varieties, because we cannot plant Gewürztraminer where we have the Pinot Grigio or the Pinot Bianco in the higher elevation. Alto Adige as a terroir has the difference from the soil types and the climates as you can find between Spain and south of England. Okay. It's a huge range. And that's why it makes sense to have all these great varieties. Although obviously it's not easy, and also from a positioning point of view, marketing point of view, it's not simple. But that's the diversity is part of our terroir. Yeah.
I think this is, for me, this is a really good answer. If Harman disagrees, he can let us know. But I'm quite convinced you've been very thorough. Thank you.
You get another compliment. This is the best Gewürztraminer one of our guests ever tasted. The most interesting one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Is it time to go to the Stoan yet?
Yeah, we can get the Stoan. I think everybody tried the Gewürztraminer, so we're going to get the Stoan as well. That we can still try if that goes well with the risotto as well. So I'm gonna get our bottle again, and I'll try not to walk over the camera again. So everybody who saw the view shaking a bit, sorry, that was me. I will try to walk around it this time.
You see how hard this job is, being on that side of the table?
I just discovered. Oh, and I was having a question for Wolfgang, but I already saw it. If he was having a glass of wine in the tasting as well, but perfect. Yeah, you
Good.
cannot do a wine tasting without wine, right?
No,
Good.
absolutely not.
Okay, so we're moving to Stoan. We worked with it before. We had it on our wine list. And it's quite complex. Can you tell us, why, what is it exactly?
Yeah, so the simple story answer, it's predominantly Chardonnay with a little bit of Sauvignon and just a touch of Gewürztraminer and Pinot Bianco. The reason why we did this wine, so there's one thing we tried to have Alto Adige as an area in the glass.
Yep.
So the typical varieties, but also the typical area. So I mean, meaning ripeness on the other side, a little bit of aromatics, great flavors, and a touch of acidity to have this combined in one wine or in one glass of wine.
So for you, this is what Alto Adige is about.
This is if we can combine the area.
Yeah. Okay.
And stone or Stoan is our dialect for the German word for stone, for Stein. Sorry, and it's stone in English. Yep. It's a very rocky soil, very rich in limestone. The reason why we started with it's basically almost 20 years ago when we started with this wine. We had this beautiful Chardonnay on 500 meters, and in the 2000, late 90s, it was the time of the rich, bold Chardonnays, very vanilla driven, if you remember, and that style of Chardonnay from this 500 meters wasn't tasting as a classical Chardonnay back in the times. So we said, okay, it's a beautiful wine, we love this wine, but it probably wouldn't have any success being a Chardonnay. So we said, let's make our own wine, let's make a blend out of it, let's make Stone. This is Stone, and it's for everybody who likes this style of wine, not being part of this Chardonnay world back in the times. And so this started, and then the wine had a beautiful, great success. And obviously, it shows the advantage of being a blend. So we have this smooth ripeness of the Chardonnay, and the great part of the Chardonnay, and being one of the most important white grapes varieties in the world. We do have Sauvignon to give a touch of aromatics, Gewürztraminer obviously, giving a beautiful nose, and the minerality and the acidity, freshness of the Pinot Bianco. It's all vinified in large casks, so it stays on the lees in large cask for a year.
How large are the casks? How many liters are going in
That's
there?
about 3,000 to 4,000 liters.
Then we have an idea.
It's a lot
Yeah.
bigger than nobody.
So-
So yeah.
Fermentation also happens in those casks. They're all temperature controlled.
Okay.
So the wine basically ferments in the cask, and then it stays in the cask till the next year, till August,
Okay. So
pretty much.
so about a year on the cask then, almost.
Yeah,
Nice.
almost a year. Yeah,
Before you go to bottle it, and you have to make the casks free for the new vintage, huh?
exactly. That's the
How it works.
The reactions of our tasters are really good. They really love
Yeah.
the stone. Yeah.
We get one
Yeah.
question about the risotto. There's no apple in the risotto. It's pear, Jesse. So you were almost right. It's also stone fruit, but it's just the other one. There
It's
was
not stone
pear
fruit.
in the risotto. It's not stone fruit. Okay, I will talk about wine and not about fruits, but it was pear. That is really true. Yeah, we get a lot of good reactions. We just have to go back and up in the chat sometimes, see if we missed any questions.
I can
Yeah.
imagine.
But I think we're good.
We still have a question of Maarten, who'd like to know how you deal
Oh, yeah.
with climate change
It's a
in
good
Alto
one.
Adige.
Obviously, us or the whole world, also we are influenced by climate change. There are a lot of topics and problems for viticulture. I mean, probably you have seen on the social media, like the frost issue, and the frost issue was not just an issue this year, it was an issue over the last years, and will be an issue for the next years. We have weather extremes for water and all this stuff, so we need really to take care of it. Said this, we are very conscious about and very sensible about, and try to do the best to avoid it, and having the winery where we do produce most of our energy in green energy and so far. But we are also to give an answer, not to give an excuse, just to give an answer how we act beside trying to avoid. But what we do in viticulture is that we are on a more lucky side. Lucky side, I mean that we have options with the mountains. We have options to go higher generally with viticulture. But we have also options to stay in the same area, but moving up with varieties. So let's say, just to keep a simple example, maybe 20 years ago, Pinot Bianco or Pinot Noir at 300 meters was used. Today, we would never plant Pinot Noir on 300 meters, but we plant it on 400 or 500 meters.
Yep.
And on 300 meters, we plant something else. Maybe now the Cabernet and the Merlot are doing better than they did 10 years ago. And just as a result on that, on the grape quality, if I could cut out all the problems, and the problems are obvious,
Yep.
and they are worse than the rest, but just for the quality of the grapes or for the wines, probably today they are better than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't want to say that we are lucky that it's like this, no at all.
Yep.
But just to explain that for our area we can handle with it.
Yeah.
But that's not the solution, obviously, for the problem. The problem is much bigger and much more severe. we are just in a lucky small part of the world where we have alternatives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
True.
you have a lot of options to change to if you need to. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of problems with the frost this year?
With no, and also 3 or 4 years ago, not really, because so there's the Adige Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and in the valley we don't have any vineyards. They're all apples,
Okay.
and on apples, obviously, frost is also an issue because apples start to flower,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a frost in that time would cut all the harvest. So, but there with water, they they can handle
Yeah.
that. And vineyards, we do have the vineyards on the slopes. So there's the Adige Valley, and right and left side of the valley, there are the vineyards.
Okay.
So we don't have an altitude vineyards, but all like this.
Mm-hmm.
So the cold air is flowing down
Okay.
and not staying. If you would have like a little valley, the cold stays and makes these cold lakes,
Mm-hmm.
and there the problems were very bad. But luckily we don't have that. But it's a big issue. It's always just a little tiny bit what makes the
Yeah.
difference between good and bad.
It is.
1 week earlier, 1 week later, and yeah.
Yeah. 1 degree below zero is horrible, and
1
1 degree
degree,
above is
exactly.
you're safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
there were a lot of problems in the Bourgogne already this year. Eh? We saw all the pictures of the vineyards where they lit all the little candles and the little lights,
Yeah.
and where they tried to prevent the frost. But I heard already a lot of vineyards, have suffered from the frost this year.
Yeah, it seems like in France this year a huge amount of frozen vineyards, and the worst part of it is that the future is not looking good for this issue.
True.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
True.
Sada.
Yeah.
Glad your vineyards are safe at least this year. Glad to
Yeah,
hear
we
that.
did it this year. Yeah, but it's a obviously a big issue. But it's probably that it starts every year earlier, and then the cold winds come back, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also true that there were a lot of people, or people they know more than we do. They told us already 20 years ago that it will be like this, right?
That is true as well. Yeah.
It is. But you first have to see it before you believe it, huh? I think that's how it works with most of us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's true.
Shall we move on to red?
I think so.
We're not too familiar with your reds, so we guessed a tasting order, but maybe you want to change it. You're allowed to. So we have Schiava, we have Pinot Nero, and we have Lagrein. Where do we start?
So, I would say to start with the Lago di Cadaro or the
Schiava.
Schiava.
Okay.
Then we almost did it
Schiava
right.
Yeah, but you can keep that also as the last
Okay.
one.
What
would you recommend?
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
you can decide. You're in charge.
I would start with
Okay,
Schiava.
then we'll start with the
Schiava.
Schiava. Cool.
I will get it. So everybody, we're just changing the order a bit. On the tasting list, it was the last wine, but we're gonna taste that first then, and then afterwards, Pinot Nero of Lagrein. What do you think, Wolfgang?
If we do it in this traditional way, Schiava, Pinot Nero, Lagrein. But if you already have the tasting
Oh, but
list,
that's no issue. They are used that we change the tasting list every tasting. So if we don't do it, they will get very uncomfortable, I think. So we just change the tasting list. No worries.
Schiava, Pinot Nero, Lagrein. That is what we'll do then.
That's going to be the order.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the Schiava.
Yeah. And we have a bite to go with that. And our chef said you can do it. You can eat it either cold or warm. So if you would like your mushroom Wellington warm, you can put it in the oven now. This is a good moment to put it in. Okay. Schiava in the glass, which is a grape variety that not a lot of people have heard of, I think. I tasted it once before, and that is 10 years ago in Alto Adige. And
Okay.
I don't think it is widely available in the Netherlands. So this is really, really nice to discover, I think.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the wines that's not important to the Netherlands, right?
Yeah. We got 12 bottles.
Yeah.
If you like it, we have a couple of bottles left, but those are the only ones in the Netherlands, we think.
So reservations by email.
Okay, Schiava, tell us.
Schiava has a very interesting history, or latest history. So Alto Adige in the Middle Age was predominantly white wine area.
Yep.
And then it became more and more a red wine area, and then the lucky side of Alto Adige was all the southern German monasteries. There were also big landowners and consumers of wine, and they basically made sure that the viticulture had a future also in these very difficult times, Middle Age and one war after the next, and everywhere agriculture was used to produce something to eat and not eventually wine because if you don't have enough to eat, maybe you stop producing wine and you produce something to eat. But Alto Adige or Südtirol always continued to produce wine, and also thanks to the monasteries that the viticulture always went on. And with that being the most southern and warmest German-speaking wine-growing area, it changed its red. And so with that, Schiava became the main grape variety of Alto Adige. And also 40 years ago, 70% of the vineyards were planted with Schiava. And it was the typical red wine from the area.
Mm-hmm.
Schiava is a very unique grape. It's a very unique wine. For me, it's a beautiful summer wine. It's a light wine. It's a wine, once you went over the first glass is not easy because it's that much out of the classical frame of a red wine. Mm-hmm. When you get the first glass, you say, oh, maybe some say, what's this? This is, I looked for a big red wine, and this is like nothing, a little bit bitter. But once you're over the first glass, some start to enjoy the nice part of Schiava. And the nice part of Schiava is that it's very delicate, it's very elegant. It's a wine that it's very easy to drink, very enjoyable. It's a beautiful wine for summer. It's light, has 12 and a half of alcohol, can be poured a little bit chilled. Mm-hmm. And so it's very enjoyable. We sometimes say and make the jokes. It pairs very well from breakfast to dinner.
You can drink it the whole day long.
Exactly. But
nice.
It's not a typical red wine.
No,
and
not true.
We have a big book from Jensen's Robertson about all wine grapes. So every tasting, if we have any grapes that we're not that familiar with, we're going to look them up beforehand. And the book says it's the same grape as the Trollinger, as they call it in Germany. Is that right?
That's true.
Ah, luckily.
And Trollinger, also the name actually says Tirolinger.
Okay.
All right. I never thought about that.
Yeah, the grape from Tyrol.
Okay, well, that explains, huh?
Yeah.
Is it always this light in color? As it is, it's really light.
If it's done in a traditional, honest way, it's light. And then,
Yeah, okay.
Has this bitter almond taste that's very, very typical to it. And it's very drinkable. I mean, it's once, For a
is.
big party with a good group, this is something that goes on and on.
Easy
And
drinking, fruity. Yep,
yeah,
true. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's drinkable, but it's not. You have some drinkable red wines, and then I always think, okay, then I can drink lemonade as well. But because of the bitters that it has, it's really it has a kind of, how do you call it, spanning as well. It is still tension. Yeah.
Tension,
It's not just fruity. It has a tension. It's balanced. It's not lemonade, even though it's really drinkable. It really has some nice features as well.
yeah, and that's why it's also not wrong to put it as the last wine, not
Can
from the
imagine.
tasting order because
Yeah.
others is very light, but pour it as the last wine. Sometimes it shows even more the positive side of it, meaning cleaning the palate, being easy, being enjoyable.
Yeah, can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for everybody who did put the mushroom Wellington in the oven, time to get it out now. Otherwise, we get burnt mushrooms.
Yeah. And I know you don't like mushrooms, but I want to.
I'm gonna get it.
Good.
We get a lot of compliments about the wine, Wolfgang. Even though people only have one tasting glass, so really the first glass is already enjoyable for most of us, I think. And our technical guy who arranged all this, we only can do a tasting by YouTube with a small webcam, and that's how far our technical abilities go. But he made everything possible with you in the tasting and with the Skype in it, and he likes it too. So I think we're already off one bottle.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. And
It is.
we have people asking, why is this not imported in the Netherlands? So you might want to talk to Bas about that. And
Maybe, yeah.
I already have someone on WhatsApp who's offering to smuggle some.
To smuggle some.
Yeah, we are good for stories like that, so we are happy to be part of the smugglers. So.
Oh, good.
Nice.
There are a lot of old, now it's too much snow in the mountains, but there are a lot of old paths
All smuggling paths.
for smuggling, yeah.
I think
Back in the
I know
times.
I know the guy who's offering, and I think he'll like that as well.
Good.
Good. What are the other questions? If the wines are for sale, yeah, they are. Jeroen gave the right answer in the chat. Wijnhuis Rosmalen is the closest place you can get.
That's really nice.
yeah.
If people are answering already the questions
Yeah,
in the
that
chat.
is really good. Thanks, Jeroen.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have a question. What are we're tasting? All of what we're tasting now is 2019. But is there any years we should look out for? Is there a lot of difference between years? And Koen is also asking if you produce a Reserva.
Yeah, we produce some Reserva. We do a Chardonnay Reserva, so from stone, after 15 years that we produce stone, we took 2 little plots and we did a Chardonnay Reserva, so it's 100% Chardonnay, all in barrique, so an important Chardonnay as Reserva. And we do a Reserva of Pinot Noir and Lagrein.
Okay.
And Cabernet Merlot, that's
Okay. And years? Is there a lot-
Vintage-wise, for the wines that we tasted, 2019 was very nice because it was a cooler vintage, beautiful for whites, but also 20. So I wouldn't, for red wines, the heavy like Lagrein or what we didn't taste, Cabernet Merlot 18 was very good. For the Pinot Noir, 19 and also 20, they are 2 very nice vintages. But for the last vintages, especially on the whites, I would not name between 19 or 20 what's the next coming. Both very good. 18 was a bit the larger, bigger style.
Okay.
But between 19 and 20, you're good on both, yeah.
Okay.
Did
Good.
you already pour me?
No, I
Spätburgunder? Did I throw that?
No, I didn't. So we're going to the Pinot Noir now, right? And then Lagrein as the last one.
And then the Lagrein, yes.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure anymore.
Okay. And we are one question behind, I think. We have a guest, Brett he's called, and he wants to know whether you were born into wine or if you grew into wine. Are you from a wine family? Is his question?
You know, I grew up in a wine growing area, so the villages here, wine is part of the history, and if you here in this area, you grow up in a family who has a long history to this place, you usually have a vineyard and you usually have a little wine cellar, and so it was for me. It was not part of the business. I mean, my parents did others for their life, but we did have, and we still do have, a few vineyards, and so it was very close. And the rest, I was, there was a good passion for it, and actually it was like back in the years when I was young, wine was a little bit of the old style and only for the old buddies, and younger people were looking for beer and anything else than wine, and I didn't go along with that. I said, wine is part of our land, it's part of our history, so there should be something nice in it, and that's why I put more attention in it, and finished up in wine, or tried to finish up, and that's where I came to and where I'm in, and I'm happy to be in this world and be in this business. And usually people loving wine, working with wine, most of them are kind people and nice people, and it's a beautiful world, I would say. Yeah.
We agree. We agree.
We
this
definitely
is what
agree.
we do. Yeah.
I mean, we
True.
like a beer every time as well, but yeah, wine. Sorry, Dan. Wine stays the favorite, huh?
Stays the favorite, and maybe beer is not so worse, but there are a lot of other businesses, you know, where you don't find the passion neither that you find in beer, and not talking about wine.
True.
So
Yep.
We could be selling tea towels.
Yeah, we could.
Your mum would be good at that.
Yeah.
She loves tea towels.
She would.
She has a lot of
definitely
passion for tea towels.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody's got his own thing, huh?
Okay, so now Pinot Nero or Blauburgunder. It says. Yeah. We're obviously close to Germany, and we work a lot with Spätburgunder. Blauburgunder is the Tyrolean.
it's all
name.
basically it's the same. It's how in German they mostly, on most areas, they call it Spätburgunder. In our area it was called Blauburgunder. The Italian name is Pinot Nero, Pinot Noir, obviously the French variety, or the French name for it. Yeah.
This is also one of the wines who has been imported especially for this tasting, and the shop that sells it to us, one of the guys already told us that if there were any bottles left over, he wanted to have them. He visited you once and he was very disappointed that the Pinot Nero wasn't imported before yet. So, so we gotta make him happy that there's a bottle of 1 or 2 left for his private collection.
Very good. So obviously nowadays it's easy and simple to eventually reship it, and Alto Adige over the last 30 years really made a name for Pinot Noir, especially in Italy. And when in Italy, talking about Italian Pinot Noir, Alto Adige for sure is the number or the first area named for it. Obviously, in the world, there's a lot of Pinot Noir grown in Germany, either not talking about France, but also US and in the whole world. But for sure, Pinot Noir has find a good home also in Alto Adige for a few reasons. The limestone, the altitude, the cool climate, and especially summing up, it's the cool climate what made us or give us the possibility to produce nice Pinot Noirs.
Because when I taste this, it is color-wise, it is light, but also in the flavor, it is really light, delicate, high in acidity, really nice fruit, and completely different from the German style that we are used to.
Okay.
We are.
Yeah.
I am used to at least the style we work with. This has a lot more fruit, a lot more elegance, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. We try to bring our area into the glass, and our area are mountains, so it's a cool climate. So it's the leaner, silkier, more lighter style of Pinot Noir, because we believe that Pinot Noir is the grape variety that can show its potential in that style. It's not a variety where we should try to make it big, but the Pinot Noir has one big opportunity, getting delicate finesse and a silky style together with a lot of joy. Nevertheless, it's not big, but enjoying a very elegant wine, and that's or a very enjoyable wine that's elegant, and that's basically Pinot Noir, giving a very good opportunity to it. And so that's why we work on this style because it brings a lot of character, a lot of territory.
Yeah, it does. I understand why our friend Ruben was that excited when the bottles were coming. I like this. Yeah.
We'll send them a message that we kept a bottle for him. He will be happy.
Yeah, he will be. There might be another one going home.
Yeah.
And there might be.
Exactly.
We have a couple of questions before we go to the last wine, if we can still. Is there a wine in the Tramin collection that you produce that is good for aging, that has a great aging potential?
There is Gewürztraminer as a grape variety that ages very well, and if we talk about aging, we would say in our family of wines, it's the Gewürztraminer that ages the best.
Okay.
Obviously, the classical Gewürztraminer where we taste it today, it's a beautiful Gewürztraminer. Do have a glass, enjoy a glass without having to think too much. If it's about aging, we should select our premium or our high-end style of always dry Gewürztraminer. It's called Nussbaumer. It was awarded 20 times in a row now with the Tramin Award, and really became the icon Gewürztraminer for Italy. That can be aged 10 to 20 years, and shows the beauty of Gewürztraminer, because Gewürztraminer ages that well, changes his style. When it's young, it's very predominated by this lychee and aromatic flavors. When it's aged, it's driven much more by minerality. It almost changes to more like a Riesling style. It's very interesting to see this evolution. But also Stone, I would suggest to age 3 to 6 years, possibly. I mean, it's very good when it's young, but his full complexity, I believe, comes over in the glass after 5 years. But it can be aged to 10 and 15 years.
I think when we had it on the wine list, we had a few older years as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always try to find some ripe wines, and we had Stone. I think it was 2010 or 2011,
Something
and
like
we
that,
poured it
yeah.
like 3-4 years ago, so it was a bit more aged. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure, and a beautiful wine that ages very well, and the complexity actually comes out after 3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, maybe when it's young, especially having this Sauvignon and Gewürztraminer in the blend, when it's young, those grape varieties are very primary driven, and they maybe a little bit cover the rest of the wine. I mean, they make it beautiful, but they maybe cover also some other flavors what are not present when it's young, obviously.
Yeah.
Aged 4 or 5 years, the full complexity comes out, yeah.
Nice.
Good.
So I think that covers the question. I do have another question. The Nussbauer, do you know if it's imported in the Netherlands?
Yeah, it is.
It is
We
good.
worked
Yeah.
with it.
Okay, did we?
Yeah, I served by the glass.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't pay attention.
We worked with that, but it was a while ago. Yeah, it is a while
I
ago.
think so.
It is important in the
Good,
Netherlands.
then
Nussbaumer.
my question is answered already. So everybody can order now the Nussbaumer to put it away in the cellar for a few years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're selling them something that they cannot get here, huh?
Yeah.
We have another question, and that is there a story behind the label? What do the 5 lines mean?
The story behind the label was a little bit started with the Gewürztraminer, but in general, thanks to the mountains, our wines are very, very floral, very aromatic, and the 5 lines, they should remember the moment when you taste the wine and you put your nose in the glass, and then you're looking for there are a lot of flavors usually in the glass in the Tramin wines, generally a lot. And then you start to try to find something and to recognize something, and maybe and sometimes then it starts being recognized just a little bit, and once you get it, it explodes with all his potential. And once you have that sensation, it goes also back, and you are oriented to the next flavor, right? And so it's this growing of flavors in the tasting of the wines. That's what is the idea behind. Obviously, it's very, very, how can I say, it's not like the castle on the label and simple to explain, yeah.
It's a nice
Or
story.
a direct message, obviously.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Shall we go on to the last wine?
I will get the Lagrein. You still have wine, Wolfgang?
Lagrein,
No, you. Do you still have wine?
I still have wine,
Oh,
but
good.
I will now also taste the Lagrein with you. I just need to open it.
Oh, nice. Good.
We got a couple of questions about the logistics, I think. De foto van de etiketten die komt op Facebook, Danielle. Die zetten we er altijd op, de hele line-up. So will be shown on Facebook, all the things we tasted. En Jeroen, paddenstoel Wellington, weet ik even niet wat daarbij zit. Ham en bladerdeeg. En dus paddenstoel. Ik denk dat dat het is. En volgens mij kijkt Trudy mee, dus die moet daar dan even iets over zeggen. Als ik dat verkeerd heb. Maar die heeft problemen met het geluid, dus ze moest via de chat. Maar ja, dat heb je dus gedaan. Wordt vervolgd anders.
Ja, paddenstoel, ham en bladerdeeg. Volgens mij hebben we het dan wel.
En dit is Trudy's moment. Trudy is our chef. Who is watching at the wine bar. We're filming from at home because the internet is better. And Trudy is a great fan of Lagrein.
Very good.
Yeah, she thinks everybody should drink more Lagrein, and we'll find out why. Can you tell us something about the grape variety? Because like Schiava, this is quite unknown, I think, in the Netherlands.
Yeah, Lagrein, it's another indigenous grape variety to the area, and in difference to the Schiava that also came to Germany with Trollinger, Lagrein really is only planted in Alto Adige historical, although there are some plantings now recently have been done in California and Australia, but talking like 50 years ago, it was only Alto Adige. So it's what I was trying to say. It's a very limited area where Lagrein found his home, and also in the area, Lagrein is a grape variety that also produces good quantity of wines or grapes, and obviously, as you can taste also now, and what's a good part of it, it has a good acidity. But if the production is too high, there's a lot of acidity, and that's why back in the times, Lagrein was done predominantly as a rosé wine. To avoid the green tannins.
Okay.
So it was done as a rosé. And then with modern viticulture, meaning low yields and modern enologists, that the the real potential of the Lagrein was found and was done as a red wine on its own. And with that, Lagrein became very, very famous. Now in Alto Adige or in the area, it's for sure the most used red wine, even more than Schiava. And has a beautiful, intense color. If you look to the wine, you would imagine some very ripe, overripe, big red wine. But then tasting it and already starting from the flavors, it shows this touch of mountains, being light, a good acidity, having a beautiful, being as a beautiful food wine. That's maybe also one of the reasons because your chef likes it so much.
Could very good be, yeah. Nice. You always see it. It's what you say. The color is much darker than the other two wines. It has really the purple in it. And then if you just look at it, you expect a full-bodied, heavy wine, and then you taste it, and it's just all the fruits and the blackberries and the plums. Yeah, I think it's really nice.
Yeah, it's still quite. I would not maybe light, but still very enjoyable.
Yeah.
A touch of a pepper note, red berries, and then this good acidity with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very enjoyable. Also now for summer, a beautiful glass of red wine. Yeah,
Definitely.
very food friendly.
Yeah. And it's not too high in tannins anymore. It's not too high in oak aging. But it's really on the fruit, and it has body, it's had complexity. Of course, the acidity really important. Yeah. Nice.
And it's an indigenous grape variety where we don't really know the parents. There's a one parent Heraldigo, but that's also a very small indigenous production grape variety Trentino.
Yeah.
But that's it. So there are no connections to one of the world famous grape varieties. Yeah.
We don't know where it came from, huh?
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. Needs to have very warm vineyards. So in fact, we have it in the vineyards where we have long sunny days, sandy soil, deep soils that keep the warm, volcanic soil, porphyric rock. All factors to keep the heat, the evening, and the warmest sites of vineyards we use for Lagrein. So not the altitude like with some other varieties before. Here it's where we need sun and heat. Yeah.
Okay.
We have two questions on the chat about Lagrein. One is about aging potential. We have one guest that has a bottle of 2018 Lagrein from Tramin in his cellar. What is the aging potential? He's asking.
So 18 for Lagrein here. 18 for sure was a very good vintage, and it was also 19 was good, but 18 was outstanding good. So I would say keeping it 3-4 years would be. Good. It can age obviously 6-7 years. If we talk about aging 10 to 20 years, it should be the Reserva. So it's our called urban Lagrein, where we start with far lower yields, and obviously starting with those lower yields, aging potential is much higher. And just 2 days ago, we opened up a 2009. It was still beautiful, young, nice acidity, a great red wine. But as far as it goes for this a label like the Lagrein 2018, I would say it can be aged up to 7-8 years for sure without any problems. If it makes sense to keep it 8 years, I don't know. I would say drinking it 3-5 years.
Okay.
Would be a good frame of time, because after 5 years I don't believe that there will be still a growth in quality. It will be good keeping, but by the end keeping only space in the cellar with no added value.
Yeah, good.
Another question which I don't understand yet, because someone asks what makes a Lagrein dunkel. Maybe I didn't pay attention. I don't know what that is.
A good question for insiders. If I would say, if I can say it and explain it in this way, Lagrein. It goes back to the thing I explained before.
The rosé.
History, it was rosé or kretzer, and in those periods, Lagrein was named dunkel in the way to say, be attention or pay attention. This is the dark style of Lagrein. Dunkel in German means dark.
Yeah. So it actually says you have red wine and not the rosé type. Okay. It's a bit like in Bordeaux, the clarets.
That's why they did it too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's why it was named on the label. But with the time that it changed, that now it's not used anymore. Maybe some producers still do, but now Lagrein is used and known as a red wine and not anymore as a rosé wine.
So that is why. So
it's vice versa. Now Lagrein is the dark one, and the rosé is added in the label.
Okay, it's a light one. Yeah. Okay.
And beforehand you added a dunkel. Yeah.
Okay.
But to maybe to give the most important answer is, if somebody finds a Lagrein dunkel, it's simple red wine.
Okay.
That's nice.
Koen says, thank you very much for the explanation. It was his question. Okay. Just going to ask our guests if there are any other questions, because I think we're at the end of the tasting. Tasted 8 wines, 4 bites. I'm really happy we did this, because rediscovered a couple of wines that we'll use again in the wine bar.
I think we have some stolen left as well, and I think that deserves a new place on the wine list again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We keep them in the house.
Thank you very much.
We already had the Sauvignon Blanc. We still have it by the glass. We serve it, so that stays on. But I also really love the Gewürztraminer.
Yeah.
And I have to try the Nussbaumer, because maybe we worked with it, but then it was too long ago.
Before you got there, too long ago.
And then I can't remember it anymore. So that's...
Stone for sure is a very versatile white wine that pairs with a lot of food and fits also with a lot of preference from the consumers. I mean, from the... has a touch of aromatics, has Chardonnay in it, and it's a wine that is very enjoyable. Yeah,
we always joke about that we are not really Chardonnay lovers. Our favorite grape is Riesling, so Chardonnay is quite the other hand, but I really love this wine, especially because you add the Gewürztraminer or the Sauvignon Blanc, you give some other dimensions to it. Yeah, it will come on the wine list again, promised.
We have a question. If you make any sweet wine?
We do a passito of Gewürztraminer, and we do a late harvest with Botrytis.
Okay.
And also watered a few times as Italy's best sweet wine. And it's a very little small production, but very beautiful wine, yeah.
Okay.
And we have another question. The question is, can we visit the vineyard? Our guests are dying, of course, to go abroad and to go on wine trips.
Like we do,
obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. We so the winery, if somebody also looked at the website, it's also very beautiful to see from an architectural point of view. Obviously, we hope people come for the wine and not for the architecture, but it's an added plus. And we do have a tasting room. We do guided tours if somebody is interested. And but it's on the highway to Lake of Garda.
Just have to get off the highway.
We are just 3 minutes from the highway exit, and so you're all welcome to visit us and enjoy and get explained what we do. Yeah.
Nice.
During lockdown, we got several times the question whether we could organize a wine trip, and we'll definitely include you. We'll take a flight to Verona, and drop by.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ja.
Verona could be a very good hub for Alto Adige, for Franciacorta,
Yeah.
Valpolicella, obviously.
We work with
Prosecco.
we work with Alberto
Soave.
Zanato. He was in a tasting before, and he also
Yeah.
said we were welcome. So we might just fill up a bus.
And we come over.
Good.
You will be very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then you can't read it, I think, but in the chat, everybody, all our guests say thank you very much, Wolfgang, and they really enjoyed the tasting, and for our part as well. It was really good to have you here. You can explain a lot better what your wines are about than we can. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for including Tramin in your tastings. We're very glad to be part of this beautiful group and compliments how you do organize that, and also with this I was told about the food delivery.
we couldn't get it to you.
I wasn't supposed to it, but I wouldn't name it because it's a very, very interesting format, and always food is part of wine, or wine is part of food, and there are two things that come together. And I believe, especially wine, only shows his beauty if it can be put together with food. So it's very, very important to have this combination. And yes,
Good.
Grazie. Thank you very much for
Thanks for
having
joining us, and hope to see you in real life.
And we hope to see you exactly in real life in the Netherlands and possibly in Cantina Tramin.
Good.
Please let me know if you're in the area and pass by, and just stop in, even if it's just for a little chat or a glass of wine,
We'd love it. Thank you
or
very
for
much.
a tour in the winery.
We definitely do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
again. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye, Wolfgang.
Ciao.
Yes.
Dan mag die
Je
uit
mag
natuurlijk.
je oortje uit.
Ja, volgens mij zijn we ook helemaal rond, zijn alle vragen beantwoord. Wij vonden dit eigenlijk wel heel erg leuk zo met de wijnboer. Dus ik hoop dat Daan ons een trucje leert. Maar waarschijnlijk kost het ook wel een paar duizend euro aan apparatuur.
Ik hoop dat Daan gewoon nog een keer een zondagmiddag beschikbaar is. Kijk, heel lief nou.
Ja, Daan moet ook op het terras lopen. Die heeft ook een heel mooi terras. Dus we hopen op regen. Dan kunnen we dit weer doen. Ja, dat is niet waar.
Komt goed. We gaan puzzelen hoe de volgende proeverij moet. We gaan zeker weer proeverijen online organiseren. Zolang wij met Stijn dicht moet blijven, helaas. Zullen we het gewoon via de YouTube blijven doen. Dus hou alles in de gaten. Dan houden we jullie gewoon op de hoogte. En hoe precies, ja, daar moeten we nog even mee aan de slag. Maar dat komt in elk geval zeker weten goed.
Ja, dank jullie wel allemaal. En tot gauw. Op het terras bij het Viswijf. Hopelijk binnenkort ook bij Wijn bij Stijn. En anders weer online.
Dank jullie wel. En tot snel.